Hello and welcome. Please come take a seat. Today is my 29th birthday, and for my 29th birthday, I wanted to make a video to honor the OG queen of YouTube, Jenna Marbles, who also made a video similar to this for her 29th birthday, where she goes through 29 lessons that she learned in 29 years. And so I'm going to be doing the same thing. I really struggled to figure out exactly what lessons I wanted to put into this video in what order, but after rewatching her video on it, I realized it's just better to do it however I want to. So, without further ado, let's get started. Lesson number 1 is a lesson that I'm sure all of us have heard and have learned from various different children's media or young adult novels or young adult television, where it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be as weird as you are without any kind of worry. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of adults tend to forget once they hit a certain age. But to reconnect with your child's self and to remember how to be weird, it's so freeing. I do want to make a small caveat to this lesson. There is a big difference between being weird and being gross. While I fully promote living your best life and doing whatever the hell you want to as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, there is a line to be drawn when it comes to hygiene in a way. Like, I'm not trying to tell you to shower every single day because that's bad for your skin, but I am asking that you try to keep yourself clean and your environment clean. It's really good for your mental health to do so. So please, dig those candy wrappers out from underneath your bed. Don't leave a pizza box on top of your bed and sleep with it. That is some teenage nasty ass shit to do, so let's try it. So yes, bring back the childhood weirdness, but leave the grossness in the past where it belongs. In the same vein as being weird, lesson number 2 is it's okay to be selfish sometimes. It's better to make yourself happy than it is to make everybody else happy around you. Now, again, small caveat here. That kind of calls back to lesson number 1, and that is don't let your selfishness hurt the people around you. And it does take a lot of self-introspection and understanding to realize when you are defending yourself and protecting your peace and just being an asshole. Another way to phrase it's okay to be selfish sometimes is to say hold true to your convictions. Don't let others define what is right and wrong for you. Look inwards, figure that out, and just look out for yourself. Remember what they say in airplanes. Put your air mask on yourself first before you assist the people around you. Lesson number 3 is a lot less serious. In this lesson, I learned the hard way a couple of times. Powdered sugar is very different from regular granulated sugar. So if you're baking something and all you have is powdered sugar, or you think, like I did for my 16th birthday, I made myself this dark magic chocolate cake, and I wanted to be light and airy, so I used powdered sugar instead of regular sugar, and it tasted like complete ass. The cake looked fine, it looked great, but it tasted terrible. And then also when you're making frosting, you want to use powdered sugar and not regular sugar because it will just be a clumpy mess if it forms at all. Lesson number 4, and I'm so glad that I learned this lesson, is that raw local honey really helps with allergies. I used to, like, going back to lesson number 1 and being a weird, gross kid and teenager, like, when I wore long sleeve shirts, you could just see, like, these white, crusty stains on the inside of my shirt from me wiping my nose all the time. Same with, like, the inside of my collar. It was terrible. It was not a fun time. It was not a pretty look. And ever since I started eating raw honey or putting it in my coffee or just like really just having a teaspoon of it every day, my allergies are significantly better. I still have like a runny nose occasionally or get the sniffles, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. So if you have allergy problems, especially ones that are related to flowers and trees, definitely go out and get yourself some local raw honey. Lesson 5 is it's okay to be figuring yourself out no matter what age you are. Remember back when you were a kid and you wanted to be an astronaut, or for me personally, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. at SeaWorld of all places. And as I got older, that desire to be a different kind of person changed almost every year. I wanted to be a vet because I love animals so much. But then I went to a veterinary office and realized I was going to have to be seeing animals in distress all the time. And yes, I would have the skills to make them better and feel good. But I knew my heart wouldn't be able to handle it. And I still can't. And I was right. I can't handle seeing it. I hate seeing videos of sad animals. I can't watch cartoons where a cat dies because I will break down crying even though it's an animated cat. There's a movie on Netflix, I think it's like Alice in the Wonderful World. It's a steampunk, futuristic dystopian movie where we never moved away from steam power. And there's a scene where her cat dies, and we had to pause the movie for 30 minutes for me to get myself together, because even though the cat was fine, it ended up being a good time, it still hurt me so badly to witness that I couldn't control myself. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. So, yeah, I moved on from that. And that whole long-winded explanation is to say, you had grace with yourself in the past, changing up what you wanted to be in the future. Have that same grace with yourself now. And especially if you're looking at your life and thinking, this isn't what I want to be doing anymore. Lesson number 6. This one I'm still trying to practice more and more in my day-to-day life. Oh my God, Kat. And that's saying the compliment out loud. If you see somebody who is just decked to the nines and you think they look amazing, say it. Say it to them. Now, for all the guys out there, don't be creepy about it. If you want to say the compliment because you want to get into the person's pants you're saying it to, don't fucking say the compliment out loud. Don't talk to them. If you want to compliment them as a person to a person, then say the compliment out loud. If you just want to praise somebody for looking good, do that. Especially with older women, seeing them light up when you compliment how they look, it's one of the best feelings in the entire world, I think. Lesson number 7. Is that going to show up right? I don't know. If you're somebody who wants to lucid dream more often or try to figure out how to lucid dream, setting alarms in your phone for reality checks, whether that's looking at a clock multiple times to make sure that the time is staying the same, or the thing that I did a lot was pushing on an object, like a wall, and picturing yourself being able to move through it. It's like the repetition of doing that every day and throughout the day will follow you into your dream world. Then when you look at a clock multiple times in your dreams, the time changes every single time you look at the clock. And if you push on a wall in a dream and imagine yourself being able to move through it, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be able to do so because you're in a dream and anything can happen as long as you can picture it clearly. I'm sorry to everybody out there who's watching this video who can't imagine things in their head. The clock checks will work best for you, but do you guys dream? Let me know in the comments. I never actually thought about that. Anyways, on to lesson number 8, and that is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. In this, I'm saying that your found family is more important than your blood family. Unless if you love your blood family as somebody would their found family. Loyalties due to sharing DNA makes 0 sense. Especially in today's modern society. We don't need blood relatives to have our backs. We don't need blood relatives to be there for us, especially if we have friends who love us for who we are without any expectation. So if your family tries to guilt trip you with, you should be loyal to your blood, don't listen to that bullshit. If the person who is related to you hurt you, you are entitled to not want to be around them, to cut them out of your life. That is your prerogative every single time. And if you have friends who care for you and treat you better than your family ever has, then your friends are your family. The people who are related to you by blood are not. Lesson number 9 is try everything once. And for this, I mean specifically food. Just because you think you might not like something doesn't mean that you won't actually not like it. Going back to blood family that you've cut out, my biological father gave me one lesson that I am very grateful for, and that is you don't have to like it, but you do have to try it. And that has inspired me to be very creative, both in the kitchen and in my culinary life, to just try everything. I don't like shrimp. That and pie are probably the two things that I get the most weird looks about. I don't like them, but every time my partner gets shrimp because he loves it, I will try one. Especially if I see him making a face that says that it's really good. I will still give it a try every single time. Pie, on the other hand, I'm never actually with anybody who orders pie regularly, so I never actually get the chance to try it regularly to see if my taste buds have changed. And I do recommend, even if you think you don't like something because you had it as a child or a teenager and you didn't like it, if it's been like 7, 8, 9 years since you last had it, give it another try. Your taste buds might have changed. I hated mushrooms for the longest time, and now they're one of my favorite vegetables. Are they a vegetable? I know they're a fungus, but they're my favorite fresh produce. How about that? Lesson number 10 is something that I learned, I can't remember when exactly. I know I was in elementary school, and it was when this show on Disney XD, I think it was, or Disney Infinity or something like that. I remember there was like a silver head and X, so maybe, I don't know. It was this show where, I can't remember the name of the show, but had this girl who was the last human on Earth that was overrun by monsters that used cards in a way, like tarot cards maybe, to power themselves up. Anyways, for this series finale, they were fighting basically this god, and they had another human with them. I forget how, but the god was trying to kill these last two humans, but every time it shot a beam at them, this protective aura would pop up. And this little girl realized why it was happening, and it was because of love. Her love for her sister, her love for, I think they were sisters, her love for her friends that were trying to protect them. And she said that love was an infinite resource. And that has stuck with me for my entire life. And I remember the feeling of that I had when I internalized that lesson. I remember feeling like love was just like a small well that you can only dish out to a couple of people around you, the closest people to you. But as I heard and internalized that love is an infinite resource, I felt that well expand inside of me to be an ocean, endless and vast. And I realized how true it was. No matter how many people you meet, no matter how many friends, family, pets you may have in your life, you will always have more than enough love to give to every single last one of them, which I think is just so profound and wonderful to know. Lesson 11. If you want your chicken to be nice and juicy and tender, cook it with vinegar or pickle juice. Pickle juice is actually what they use at Chick-fil-A for their chicken to keep it nice and tender. So if you want to have guilt-free fried chicken without giving money to a corporation that is bigoted and homophobic, now you have their secret ingredient. So do with that what you will. Lesson number 12 is also about food. I think there's a lot of lessons on food in here. And that is, and I just learned this recently, I learned this trick recently. If you want to eat more because the food is fucking delicious in front of you and you don't want to stop, get a whole bunch of different flavors on your plate and take a bite of everything like once. So like, if you have a cheeseburger, take a bite of the cheeseburger, then have a fry with ketchup, and then have a bite of your pickle. And then like, if you have a dessert or like a sugary drink in front of you, take a sip of that. The dopamine or endorphins that your brain gets from having really yummy food will like block out all of the pain receptors inside your stomach, telling your body like, hey, we've had enough food, stop eating. Though practice this lesson with care, because one, you might get sick and throw up, or two, you're gonna have a really big shit afterwards. Just putting it out there, practice that with care. Lesson 13 is the cuteness happies that you get from your pets or like holding a puppy or something like that is called oxytocin. And it's the same chemical in your brain that's released when you have a biological child, when you have a baby. And I think that's just like really cool to know that your brain gets the same kind of endorphin high from your pets as they do from if you had a child. So if you really don't think that you're up for having human kids, having pets gives you the same happiness. And speaking of pets and happiness, lesson 14 is a warning for everybody out there with a cat. Lysol spray will kill your cat if you spray it in their face, or even if just like around them, it can really easily poison them. So just a warning. Please do not Lysol with your pets in the room. If you like Lysol because it's a great antibacterial agent, then I suggest closing your pet off in a different room, spraying the area, and waiting 30 minutes to an hour before allowing the pet back into the room that you sprayed with Lysol. Oh, it's starting to storm outside. And moving right along to lesson 15, and that is if you survive long enough, you can make it through anything. So this is a lesson in resilience that I've had to learn in my life. And it's a lesson that I learned through introspection and looking back at everything. No matter what hardships I've been through, because I lived long enough to see the end of it, I made it through that hardship. So please recognize that no matter what you're going through right now, no matter what hardship you're facing, as long as you keep living and breathing and getting through it, you will get through to the end and you will see a better day. I promise. Now for a slightly lighter lesson to learn that I've learned, because that one got really serious all of a sudden. Lesson 16 is analyzing media isn't dumb. And this is a lesson that I had to learn throughout my life. And now I'm a video analyst of all things. When I was like 14 or 15, I would argue with my English teachers about the drapes being blue. Because I was just like, no, I'm a writer. The drapes are blue because I want them to be fucking blue. But now that I'm older and I have a lot more experience writing, and now that I'm a video analyst, I can see that analyzing the media that you're consuming isn't a waste of time. Seeing the forest for the leaves isn't going to take anything away from your experience of that media. In fact, it's just going to make your appreciation of it even richer and more fulfilling. So if you're somebody out there who is just like, oh, they're just cartoon characters, why are you taking it so seriously? Oh, they're just made up characters on a screen. Like, why do you care what their inner thoughts are? They don't have inner thoughts. They're just made up beings. First of all, shut the fuck up. You're dumb and you're wrong. Second of all, leave my channel because you won't find anything here that will interest you. I promise you that. Now, taking it back to a more serious tone, lesson 17 is, if you haven't done this already, think back to a time when you were young and you were experiencing something terrible. Maybe it was bullying, maybe it was abuse from your parents, or anything along those lines. Any time that you were just sad and broken and felt like you were alone, imagine that younger version of yourself standing in front of you and give them the biggest hug in the world. Tell them everything that you are now. There's something healing about doing this. It doesn't change the past, but it can really soften the way that you see your past, if that makes sense. And in lesson 18, for those of you who are still experiencing those hard times, this is a little psychological trick that I've learned, and that's to set an alarm for at least once a day to remind yourself to smile. It's not a magic cure-all, it's barely a band-aid on a gushing wound, but reminding yourself to smile at least once a day does change your brain chemistry a little bit. It reminds you that you can smile, that you can enjoy life. It really helped me through a lot of tough times in my own life, and it also helped my partner as well when he was struggling through different things. And now on to lesson number 19, which I wish I knew before I was 19, and that is Don't go to your graduation day for high school or college if you don't fucking want to. It's your accomplishments that you are celebrating. If you don't want to deal with the nonsensical bullshit that comes with graduation practice, don't do it. You don't have to. It is your choice, your accomplishments. You should be able to celebrate it however you want to. Don't let any of your family members or friends try to guilt trip you into doing it. If you seriously want to go to your graduation and walk that aisle because that's how you want to celebrate your accomplishment, then do it. But if that's not something that appeals to you, if that's not what you want to do, then don't. Be yourself and live your truth. Lesson number 20 is something that I've learned recently, and it's really helped me out a lot, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of you guys out too. Because I know for like millennials and Gen Zers, like cringe culture is still very much a thing, and like not doing anything cringy because you feel embarrassed about it is still kind of a thing, especially for younger people. And this lesson is whenever you have one of those intrusive thoughts, I'm using that word wrong, I know, but like an intrusive memory that pops up from when you were a kid, like you're laying in bed and you remember that you did something super embarrassing when you were 11 years old. Stop yourself when you're having that thought and try to tell yourself, I was 11. I was whatever age I was, even if it was 2 weeks ago. Like, just try to tell yourself, like, I was younger, I was dumber, I didn't know any better. Now I do know better, and it's not going to happen again. I used to be a person who would be awake at night because I would have these intrusive memories popping up in my brain trying to embarrass and shame me. Like, practicing this, I don't really do that anymore. I kind of just fall asleep now. It's wild. And I hope this lesson helps you guys out too. Lesson number 21 is audiobooks are great. They are simply fantastic, especially if you're somebody who was an avid reader when you were a kid or a teenager, but you don't have the time anymore to do it now. I totally get that. I really struggle to sit down and read a physical book anymore. Even though I'm a writer and I love reading, it's still my number one favorite hobby is to read. But yeah, audiobooks are just fantastic. I totally get if you're somebody who's just like, oh, I want to get into audiobooks, but like I just can't like listen to a story being told to me. I need to read it. I totally get that. That was me too. It's an acquired taste. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And listening to audiobooks means that you can drive, you can clean your house, you can do chores while still reading at the same time. When my favorite book of all time got a sequel, I took 2 days off of work and just cleaned my room while listening to this audiobook. My room never looked better, and I finished that audiobook in 2 days. It's the first time I read a book in less than 48 hours in like over 10 years. It was crazy. Lesson number 22 is let your inner child run wild when appropriate, which is honestly a lot more often than you think. What I mean by this is jump on the couch, do something crazy and silly, do something that you haven't done since you were a kid, chase butterflies around your backyard. When you're out in nature, just feel the leaves of plants and smell the flowers. It's really an enjoyable time. And in that same vein, lesson number 23 is probably more of a personal opinion, but going out and dancing is some of the most fun that a human being can have. But just like feeling the beat of the music in your feet and having that full self-expression to move your body however you want to, it's so good. And it's great exercise. So if you haven't gone out dancing in a while or you've never have, I highly recommend doing it once or doing it soon because it's a great feeling. It's great to let go and just be with the music. Even if you're just doing it at home, you don't have to go out and listen to music and dance anywhere else. You could just put headphones in and dance around your house. It's a blast. And now taking it back to a more serious tone, lesson number 24 is a hard one for a lot of people to learn. I think these next couple lessons are going to be this lesson and then not the next one, but the one after that are lessons that are really hard for people to learn and internalize. and kind of experience as they're getting older. And lesson number 24 is sometimes people change. Sometimes your best friends move on to different aspects of their life that you aren't in, or you move on in your life to a different aspect that your friends can no longer relate to. Sometimes people change for the worse, and it's better to recognize that and to let them go than is to try to cling on to relationships that aren't working out anymore due to nostalgic reasons. Letting go is hard, but it's always for the better. Lesson number 25, on a slightly upbeat but more philosophical, I guess, is this great lesson that I learned in one of my history university classes, and that is stories are the building blocks of civilization. It wasn't fire, it wasn't buildings, it wasn't walls that kept people safe. It was people coming around the fire and telling stories to each other that built up language, communication, and led to great civilizations that have risen and fallen throughout history. Stories are so important, whether they're fictional or mythos or religious or personal. They bring people closer together, and that's so beautiful to know. And lesson number 26, like I said, is a hard one for people to internalize, especially if you're the child of abusive parents. But your parents are human too. They're allowed to make mistakes. They're more than capable of making mistakes. Or whoever's watching this probably has personal anecdotes that show that their parents can make mistakes and have made mistakes. I'm not trying to convince you to forgive your parents for the harm that they have caused you, but recognizing that they're the children of probably also abusive parents, like thinking about the timeline that they lived in, allows you to have a little bit more grace for them, which I totally get if you don't want to have any grace for them, but having that grace, having that empathy for them, lightens the hurt in your heart. And I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite for this because while I'm trying to see this with my mom, who has done a lot of terrible things to me and my sister for her own selfish reasons, I'm still trying to see her as a human being, especially now that I've graduated from therapy and just trying to make myself more understanding and empathetic in life. I've come to be able to forgive her for a lot of the selfish acts that she's done because I recognize that parents aren't perfect. And sometimes they have extenuating circumstances, I know I didn't say that word right, leave me alone, that push them to do these selfish things. And I say that I'm a hypocrite because while I'm doing that for my mom, I will never forgive my biological father. But there was a difference in the level of abuse. My mom's abuse came from a desire for survival and escape. My dad's abuse came from a desire for control. And there is a big difference between the two. Lesson number 27. Back to a slightly lighter topic, but again, more philosophical, is wishes and dreams are what connect every single human being together. And I'm not talking about the dreams that you have at night. I'm talking about your desires for your future. I talk a lot about this for one of my analysis videos for Dimension 20, The Unsleeping City, because that's a really big theme in that show. If you want to hear more elaborations on it, I think I did a really good job there, and I'm kind of just reading a bulletin point right now, so I can't recall all of the amazing points that I made up and figured out from that are in that video. So please go watch that if you want me to expand upon this subject more or want to hear me expand upon this subject more. And now, second to last lesson, number 28, is accept help when offered. I know for me personally, it's really hard for me to accept help from other people, and especially to ask for help from other people. I've been raised to be very independent, but you don't have to go through whatever it is you're going through alone, whether it's a small thing or a big thing. And if you're asking somebody if they want help, try not to ask them as do you need help? Ask them do they want help? There is a slight difference in those two wordings. Like, asking if they need help kind of implies that you see them as incapable of doing it, which would make them reject the help a lot faster. But asking if they want help, it's more of an offer. But going back to like the full lesson that I'm trying to tell you guys is, if somebody offers you help, whether or not you think you need it in that moment, accept it. Accept it even in the smallest amount. It's a hard lesson to internalize, but it does make you feel a lot better when you know you have other people at your back. Lesson number 29 is, forgiveness is letting go of the hope for a better past. I forget who is originally credited with saying this quote first, but I know I heard it as a throwaway line in a D&D podcast called I Seduce the Dragon, and I'm so glad I heard that phrase because it literally changed the chemistry in my brain. I know that sounds like exaggeration, but it really isn't. When I took that lesson and applied it to all of the wrongs that have happened to me in my past that I hadn't let go of yet, I felt like my body was soaring through the air because I felt myself getting lighter with every thought that I was having and applying that lesson to it. And I think it does this because it takes the power away from the person that hurt you in the past and puts that power back in your hands. And once the power is back in your hands, the pain fades away. And again, I'm not asking you guys to forgive the people who hurt you, but to give yourself the grace of knowing that no matter how badly it hurt and how badly you don't want it to have happened to you, that desire will never change that it did happen. It's better to let go of the hope that maybe one day it will change. The past will be rewritten, because it never will be. And the sooner that you learn that lesson, the better it is for yourself in your heart. Because then you can stop dreading it so much. Dreading the thoughts, dreading the memory of it. Because it happened, and it sucked, and it was terrible. But you lived through it, and you have the strength within you to make a better future out of it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to these 29 lessons. If you want me to expand upon anything more, let me know in the comments below. And I'm sorry there wasn't more lighthearted lessons throughout this, but more emotional lessons are the ones that we learn more from anyways. So anyways, I'll finish this story later.